Hi there, everybody. My name is Natasha Phipps, and I am with Phipps Real Estate Group here in Calgary, Alberta. If you don't know who I am an investment specialist realtor, a real estate investor, and I run a team of investment realtors here in Calgary. And our goal and mission is to work with real estate investors and help them achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve in their lives. So this series is about shining a spotlight on some of our clients and investors that we know that we want to tell their story a little bit and learn about them and all kind of grow together. So today I am joined by Tanner and Chelsey, and I'm very excited to chat with these two. So thank you for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are.
Yeah, it should be fun. So the first thing I always like to just, ask people is, tell me a little bit about you guys and how you got into this investing journey. How did this start for you?
You go first.
Well, we met when we were pretty young. I was 18, he was 19. And I come from a family that is all about save all of your money and plan for your future, right? When I met him, he was spend all my money on sports cars. But no, we kind of like grew together, and my parents were kind of like in real estate a little bit.
Yeah.
So we decided to go down the route of buying our first home together. And we were actually planning to do a townhome, like a new build townhome.
Yeah.
But then we just ended up meeting some people along the way. He met someone at the gym that was a realtor at that time. And he kind of like introduced us to the world of detached homes, specifically bungalows.
Yeah.
And we just kind of went and we looked at different properties, and then the topic of renovating came up because we were looking at like 1960s, 1970s builds. So you obviously have to renovate them. So then we kind of got into that world of, okay, well, what does that look like? How much does that cost? And then my creative brain went because I love like designing and that kind of thing. And then his money brain went because he's all about, okay, is this going to make us money? House hacking, renting, that kind of thing. And then it kind of like snowballed into where we are now, where we renovated the house that we're in. We are renting out part of it. And now we're looking into, okay, now what's next? We really were going to go on that flip side, like where we really wanted to start flipping homes. But then obviously like with everything with COVID and just like supply and demand right now is just insane. And then Tanner ended up meeting you, and then you've kind of been that next step of like, okay, so now we could maybe even get into like legalizing suites and that whole rental income stream. So that's kind of like where we're at now.
That's super exciting. So I want to rewind back to something you said there at the very beginning about your parents, telling you to save all your money and work for probably however many years and plan for your retirement, right? And that's such a common story that many people have, and then they maybe never wake up to the idea that they could have added this. So, I mean, what I love about you guys is, first of all, you're so young that you have so much time to like, add so much value to your lives by even just doing a few small things. So that's what gets me so excited about working with younger couples, because the numbers really add up very quickly when you look at, decades of time. So that's really exciting. And like, I just want to give you the props to you guys for stepping outside your comfort zone, because when your parents are telling you one thing, no matter how old you are, it still feels uncomfortable. Yeah. So I really like that. But during that time when you had kind of your eyes were being open to the idea of, rental income and these suites and had you guys talk together as a couple, kind of like what the goal that you'd like to achieve is with this, even just like short term? Had you thought about like building up rental income or something and what that would do for you guys?
Yeah.
I don't know. We just talked and it kind of went back and forth, because what I've noticed is you get a lot of different information and it's sometimes hard to decipher what is the best way. But yeah, I think we just had a goal that to get into real estate, because I went to a rain event about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome. And I'm not one to go up to people and just talk out of the blue, but I just said to myself, I'm just gonna like go up to people and just start talking to them and ask them. because I was a newbie. And so then they got me on the path of this, and then rentals. And then I talked to Chelsey about it. And I think we haven't really set a goal. We're really focusing on just getting this property,
Yeah.
this first one, and then going from there.
Yeah, I think that was our biggest thing we kept telling each other is like, we want to get our first property, whether it was in the flip world or the rental world. We want to get that first one because everyone tells us as soon as you get that first one, then it kind of like goes from there, right? You meet so many people. And so that's what we keep talking about. Is like, let's just get our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you learn so much. And the other thing I like about what you said too was you could have went and bought a brand new townhouse. And most young people buy their first place. It's something easy. It's, that condo or a brand new little infill in, a brand new community or something like that, because it's easy. And it's scary to take on a project like you guys just took on. You took on a very large renovation in an older home. And that is like, that's a huge learning curve. That's your first investment, also your primary residence. But the house hacking idea there is you have rental income now coming from this property. But now when you move on to the next property, this house is going to show as a positive cash flow for you guys. It's going to be a house you can easily move on from, but it took some short-term pain, right? You guys had to endure renovation, you had to manage that, you had to pay for a renovation, all of those things. So there's a short-term there but now this property can be an asset for you guys for decades to come, rather than if you just buy a townhouse. Yes, that can as well, but it won't have those numbers and returns that a single family house does with a suite. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Had you guys done renovations before, or was this something like brand new to you guys as well?
This was brand new. So like back to the townhome, we were just like exactly what you were saying. We were just thinking something simple, brand new, no maintenance. The brand new aspect sounded really cool, and her parents are like, that's what you want. And then I just started doing my own research after the rain event and just looked into forced equity, suiting bungalows, and just long-term wealth building. And I just compared the two, and I just realized that there was nothing really you could do with the townhome. Like you could rent it out eventually, but just as an individual unit, but it would be very hard to cash flow. There'd be no real equity other than with inflation or gradual increase.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do a renovation on an older house, which to force equity, house hack on it as well. So we're having our mortgage that leaves us our capital to then invest into another property.
But yeah, we've never done renovations. Like it was definitely something that was new to us, right? And like when you walk into an old home, you're like, oh my gosh, like how can I get this to look brand new and look like something that someone would want, But I feel like it kind of just, in a sense, came easy, if you want to say, of like how you can envision a space, like with taking out walls and, like what's going to value the kitchen and the bathrooms, doing an ensuite, that kind of thing. So it kind of just, what was lucky to us was it flowed in that sense of like, we could see that vision, right? Where some people can't see it, but we were able to see the vision when we walked into this particular house after seeing like 50 houses. We're like, okay, this is the one. Like, we know this is the one.
Great. That's awesome. So, and like I deal a lot with obviously investors, and they're usually going one of two ways. They're going, no, I don't want to take on a renovation, or, like I don't have the experience, or, the only way I would take on a renovation maybe is with a partner, or, something like that. So a couple of points there. There's nothing wrong with going the brand new route necessarily, but get the maximum returns on investment, if you can tap into all four return streams, being mortgage pay down, cash flow, the passive appreciation, and the forced appreciation, like you said, now you're really doing as much as you possibly can with what you have on one deal, which is going to set you up for success. But do you have any kind of advice or things that you learned through this renovation, if you were to go back and tell yourself before you started that? Because a lot of people are scared to get into this, and I think people kind of don't even want to say what they've learned sometimes, but it's important to, right? That we're all here to learn from one another, and there's a lot of people in your position doing their first project or looking to do their first project, and so let's kind of talk about that. Like, what do you wish you had known?
I think the main thing, and then I'll let Chelsey go, is just if anyone like at the beginning or even the middle tries to like cut corners or
Mhm.
just say, don't do this, you'll be okay kind of thing, that's like a huge red flag. Like it should be just
Yeah,
almost like an immediate cutoff and then search somewhere else, just because it just creates more headaches
right.
in the future.
Yeah,
And especially for your first time, it gets you nervous and you don't know what to do because you're depending on these people are supposedly more knowledgeable than yourself.
yeah.
That would probably be my biggest thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And I think doing your research beforehand. So it's really great to have connections with people, but also do your own research like on your own end so you can feel confident in whether it's, especially because we're talking about renovations, the crew coming in. Really have that understanding of who they are as a company, but also just paperwork at the beginning. Make sure that it's all set exactly how you want it to be. So there is no surprises at the end where it's like, oh, well, that wasn't in our contract to begin with. And it's like, oh, but we had a conversation, you know? So I think making sure that you're 100% on the same page with your contractor, whoever you're doing renovations with, it'll make your process a lot easier, especially when you get to that end point.
100%. It's usually the little things that start to get
Mhm.
overwhelming in a renovation. And I am constantly shocked at how few people actually read their paperwork or don't have paperwork. And this isn't just for like renovating, this is for buying, property even, or like most people don't even read through, I'm finding, in my
Yeah.
experience, or they skim it and don't really, read the terms. Like, always read the terms. What are they saying? If and or but, right? Look at those things. So I think that's really good advice. And it's hard when you're excited and you really want to get into something, and we all are guilty of this. We all have these stories where it's like, damn, I wish I would have like taken a little bit more, but you get excited and you really want to do it, and that's great. But that's really good advice, to get things on paper up front, and things can still change from there, but at least you have something that's a framework, right? So that's really good advice. um so, and you were living in the house while you were renovating it, right? Or no?
No,
No.
we were actually living still at home, which was
Okay.
awesome
Mhm.
because
Yeah, that's
it'd be tough. I've heard of people living in rentals, but yeah,
yeah.
that was nice that we didn't have to
Yeah,
live
we
in
were
it
able to
during
live at home
because it took
way
so
longer.
much longer.
Yes. Yeah, it took a long time. And just out of curiosity, when the renovation was going on, were you guys like checking on the house a lot? Were you involved? Like, what was your kind of like interactions like with the project?
Um,
Well, we showed up at the house a lot.
Yeah.
Um, it's, I think it depends on who your contractor is, and that kind of goes back to like doing your research. Is you want to make sure that they know, like, you obviously have expectations for them, but they also know your expectations of like, hey, do you know what? I am going to be showing up
Yes.
almost every day or every second day, and I'm going to be here. And if I see something wrong, like, I do want us to have that open communication. And so we can like fix it right away. And I think that's something that we missed on our end, that we didn't set those expectations for the both of us. Because we definitely were as involved as we possibly could be. We were here as much as we could. It was just sometimes hard because we didn't set those expectations, that it was kind of like this was our house, but it didn't feel like our house. It felt like we were walking on
Yeah.
them. Where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is our house. Like, we own this house. We shouldn't feel weird coming in on our contractors and
No.
asking questions, right?
um this is really valuable information, because like people don't know what to do, especially if it's your first project, or you have a contractor who's telling like, no, don't show up, or don't be checking on me, or that stuff. Like, You're right. Talking about that up front and setting the expectation will absolutely have a difference. And I'm the same. Like and I will tell them I'll be there every day, even if I can't make it. I want them to expect me to show up, so that they don't know when I'm coming, but I plan to come. And and if that's not okay, then yeah, that's a problem for sure. So that's great. You were involved checking, on the property, being there. And like, I have heard stories of people like, oh, like they show up 3 months later and want this like big, like ta-da moment, like a HGTV thing. Like, no, that is not what we want to do, guys. We want to be there. We want to be checking on things. So good for you guys for doing that for sure. So, okay, so we got this property. You guys are living in it. You've got the basement suite rented. I believe that's going well, and you have a great tenant.
Very well.
And you're self-managing that, right?
Yep.
Property, yeah, or the suite. So ideally, do you guys want to stay in this property for X amount of time, or what's kind of next? And is the next property going to be a full-on rental, or are you wanting to move again?
No, I would say just because I don't love moving, I was first anticipating, I was like, oh, we'll only live in here for a couple of years. But now that we're settled in and the area, and I really like the community's great, I would just love to just stay here and then have our next one just be a full, total rental. And we stay here for, I don't know how long, and then maybe get a second rental because I'm in no rush. Because again, like Chelsey said, I really love the community. The house looks good, and it's
working for us now.
It's working for us
it
now,
could be in a
sure.
couple of years, like we don't know where we're going to be, right? So it could be to the point where it's like we can make some really good cash flow from the one that we're in. So if we move on from it, we get this place fully rented, then that's something that we would definitely want, right?
Yeah, for sure. And what I love about real estate, first of all, is even with one property, you have options now. You have multiple options of how to pivot, or if life changes or whatever comes along. Now you have more than one path you can take. And just for kind of those watching, like, that's my favorite part about real estate, is the options that it gives you, because life throws crazy things at us, good or bad. And if you don't have multiple options, you can feel like you have no control. So taking some control in your life through real estate is really, really empowering, and can really save you when you need it, or just give you opportunity, right? So that's really true. So moving from here, what is next? You guys talked about wanting to maybe flip more rental properties. What is your biggest kind of barrier right now? Like, what is there something standing in your way? Or are you ready to go? Like, what is kind of on the plate right now?
I would say, just capital to begin with, just because the rental ended up costing us a lot more, but that stuff happens. So it was an awesome learning experience. But just the capital to move. I've been researching a lot in joint ventures, just trying to learn how they work and everything like that. I'm reading, or just actually purchased Russell Westcott, I believe his last. Westcott, his joint venture book, and I'm just starting to read that because and listening to his podcast as well. So
is probably our biggest barrier. But then also like knowing like when is the good time to jump into the flip, or jump into the like kind of like lipstick type thing and get rental in, right? It's kind of like understanding what's better right now.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good point too. And also something super smart that you're even thinking about that, because there is different times in the market where flipping property makes sense or does not make sense, right? And like a lot of people don't think about that. They just like, I'm going to flip houses and that's it. So that's really important. Like, time of year is super important with flipping houses, just the market in general. In Calgary, where we are in particular, in the last 5 years, like, flipping houses has been challenging. There's people doing it and doing well at it, but those guys and girls are often doing volume. Like, that's their full-time job. They're not working another job. So it's okay if one house doesn't do so well and one does great or whatever. So I think we're moving into that territory now, and where flipping can make sense, but always too, like what's the plan B for the property if it doesn't work? How can we, if we can't sell it for what we need to, what can we do with it, right? Can we rent it? Do the numbers still work? So I think being strategic there is really smart. And the joint venture comment, like that is usually often too where everyone runs out of money, whether you have zero money to start with or X amount of money, like we all run out of money. And so getting into joint ventures is the only way to really grow to any sort of exponential level for most people, unless they're very well off and don't need to go down that road. But most people do. So I think, you know, what we've been talking about is what's the value proposition, right? Like capital it should not be standing in the way of your guys' success. And I fully believe that. And so if you had the capital and that wasn't a problem, would you be wanting to legalize a suite? Would you be wanting to do a larger renovation this time or a smaller one maybe? Or what would be your guys' ideal based on what you know now and then of the Calgary market?
I would say 100% as of right now, just because of the rules that they're coming into place at the end of this year in regards to legalizing a suite. I think that's a really good opportunity because once we hit that time, it's going to be a lot more expensive. So just from the people I've talked to, I think if we are able to suite something right now, it becomes more attractive for in the next years for someone to just buy an already legally suited unit. Yeah. Because it just doesn't make sense and they don't have that type of capital. Because the one with the one contractor you had that video with, I was listening to him and really enjoyed that video. And he just talking about how it's, and you had mentioned it, that it could be right now, if you find an illegal suite, it's like could be anywhere from 10 to 20,000 where, because you just have to get the fire code. Yeah. But in 2022, got to get to builder's code, which like you said, anywhere from $65,000 to $85,000. So a lot more capital is required. Yes. So I think that's kind of why we're trying really to push this year to at least get one. Yeah. Just because I could see the value increasing a lot more over time, and houses are getting more expensive. So more people are going to be looking for those houses that have legal suites. Yeah, they can buy in new areas, but the new areas have the downside of there's construction, where if you get in the older areas, they're already established. You got nice bigger yards. So that's kind of where I think our head's at right now. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the top strategy in residential real estate, in my opinion, right now. Whether we're talking about it like a property, you have like a bungalow with a suite that's not legal in it, or even a side by side or half a duplex with a suite in it, you can apply this strategy to all of them. So 100%, like this opportunity is a way to make money go further, which is really hard to find. Like, how can you make your money go further? This goes so much further because just as you said, our rules are changing. So I love that. I think that's exactly what I would be doing if I was in your shoes as well. Exactly what I'm looking for as well. So we're all kind of in the same boat here in Calgary this year. That's the only downside is we're all kind of like trying to find those deals, right? And find those awesome properties, but they're out there. And this is totally like separate off topic, but I think this summer is going to be a really great time to buy because I think everyone is going to go enjoy their summer and be golfing and on their boats. And hopefully the investors here on the ground, and we can kind of swoop in and be here kind of getting the work done on the ground. So that's what I'm excited about this summer. And I think those line up really well. So that's really awesome. So you're open to joint ventures, you're learning about joint ventures. And I think that's a really great next step for you guys. You bring to the table boots on the ground, the experience of being through a project already, wanting to grow your portfolio as well. And then as a joint venture partner, you can manage the property as well ongoing, and you can be here as someone to kind of take care of things, right? So yeah. Cool. So that's the ideal scenario, I think. Hey.
No, for sure.
100%.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so I was just thinking of something else. Oh, kind of combining the BRRRR strategy with the suite like you did in this property. You bought a property, you increased the value, and I love that we're combining, like I said, all four of those return streams. I wanted to rewind. I kind of skipped over a little bit about flipping versus like selling and refinancing, because I think either could work this year. So we could also focus on a flip if you do find a partner that's wanting something more short term, right? And I think people can sometimes think, okay, if I'm going to flip something and it doesn't work out, like you can always pivot, right? Like being able to pivot in real estate is a must. So go to flip something that doesn't work, like that's okay. Keep your mind open. And what is the plan B here? So I think for even rewinding to your comments about house hacking, like if we bought something this year and had a suite in it and say we want to flip it to another investor maybe, or that didn't work out, the time is so good right now for secondary suites because like you said, they're going to be worth more next year. So there's not many opportunities in Calgary specifically where something is coming quickly to raise value. We're kind of like the slow and steady appreciating market or flat. It's very rare to get these huge spikes like this year we did, but the previous years it's been flat or very small increases for some property types. So that's a huge opportunity to get that appreciation lift by providing a product that is in high demand and low supply. So that's a really great opportunity to get into that scenario. Low supply, high demand, 100%. That's exactly where you want to be, no matter if you're going to keep it or flip it, because it'll appraise for more, or it would, sell for more as well. So that's really exciting. Anything else you guys want to add, about where you want to go, or anything people
I don't know.
want to know about you guys?
I would love to have, like in the future, like get into the flip, because she loves designing. She loves like that aspect of it. So, but also doing that with the rental, because with the rental, I think the lipstick is cool, but I would love to do something that's just like over the top, like beautiful, especially so that the tenants love it. Because that was one thing with this house is because I wanted the tenants to be so happy in the basement, that I was like just adding things and taking away from the upstairs, because I'd rather them be in a more beautiful place than us upstairs. So I think that's one thing I'd love to do well, is make because I've seen a lot of rental properties and legalized suites, and there's nothing wrong with them, but just having someone who at this moment in their life can't afford to buy a home is able to live in something that's just like completely beautiful, renovated, like totally modern, or farm. Is it farm concept? What's the one you really like?
Well, I guess
just like modern pretty much. So that's kind of our goal, is to like up the standard or at least mine, for the rental property, the rental game, so kind of thing. Hopefully that made sense.
No, it did. And that's a really great point as well. One of the first things I always ask people too, when we're talking about strategy, is who do you want your tenant to be? Not necessarily, there's no right or wrong answer. It can be anything from a student who's, living on Mr. Noodles to someone who, is going through maybe a downsize or upsize or whatever it is. So, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. You need to be careful not to over renovate so that you're the bottom line, but caring about your tenants' happiness in a property is the right way to do this, because you want people who are going to stick around. You want people who are going to take care of your property and who are not going to cause you major headaches necessarily. If you're someone who chooses that, and that's what you have, high turnover and all that stuff, then that's totally fine too. And that's a totally different strategy. But choosing who your customer is first, and then planning your project around that is absolutely not the other way around. So I like that a lot. And I think for Calgary, I mean, that right there, what you said, is often the appeal to new construction. So I think a really good partner for you guys is someone who is drawn to the new construction idea and concept, but they don't like that the returns are lower because you're not improving the property. So
Yeah.
I think you touched on something really great there, because this is a way to kind of combine all of that together. The great thing about new construction often is they're really nice properties, and they attract a good tenant who has good jobs and, you know, is looking to probably buy their own home in 3 to 5 years. Exactly like you said, they can't quite own yet, but they don't want to live in some, you know, dungy basement suite or in a condo because they have kids or pets or whatever. So I really think there is a place for that. And we've proven that on the new construction space in terms of tenants, but also the investor. So for an investor who is attracted to a nice tenant, really good cash flow, long-term buy and hold, is a perfect partner for you guys. And there's several ways to kind of accommodate that here in Calgary, and lots of really great communities that would attract a great tenant like that as well. So
Yeah.
I know people are going to ask, what community are you guys in?
Silver
Silver
Springs.
Springs.
Yeah. I have a property in Silver Springs as well, with a legal basement suite in it. And my tenants are unbelievable. They are so amazing and so great. So I really like that community too. So I live in Scenic Acres, so I'm not far from you, but I know people are asking, what community is this? So that's really great. But obviously there's lots of awesome communities, but I like the idea of finding good tenants, quality people, and building a relationship with them, right? As a good landlord. So I think that's kind of it for today that I have, unless there's something else you want to add. But I think I'm really excited to watch what you guys do. I am just so proud of how far you've come and how smart you're thinking about these things. It's better to, you know, think critically, take our time, and make good decisions. And just a few small decisions will impact you guys so greatly in your life. So it's so cool to see. And I'm just happy to know you guys and excited to watch your journey.
Yeah, well, we
Yeah,
appreciate
that's a lot.
everything.
Yes, thank you.
And I know we watch your stuff all the time, and we're very lucky that we've kind of connected with you, and we get this opportunity to now learn from you and the community that you have built, which is super important. And yeah, we're excited for that.
For sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For those people watching, I'm going to put Tanner and Chelsea's email and contact information in the description, so you can reach out to them if you like, or find them. I'm sure you guys are on Instagram as well. Find your Instagram handle and throw it in there too. But thank you so much for your time today, guys. And yeah, just excited to watch you grow more. So have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.